What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Play-by-Play podcast. My name is Alex. This is AJ. This is Brian. Let's see what we got going for you this week. I guess to start it off, let's talk a little college football. I'm looking at it this week. Got a lot of good games, slated. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a USC fan. USC's going into Minnesota, looking to keep up the momentum. So we'll see how that's going to go. Do you guys have any exciting games to look forward to this weekend?
So I feel like this is a down week for college football when it comes to like big name matchups. You got, I think, only one game where both teams are ranked. And I think I'm looking over here. It's Missouri and Texas A&M, which obviously is kind of a headline game. But, I say off week only because this is normally the type of matchups you see like the past few years in college football, where you don't get the hard games until like week 7, 8, 9. Most of these first few are cupcake. So it's interesting this year with the whole conference realignment that this is the first week where we're not going to get like two top 10s playing each other.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be like some, heavy game where all eyes are going to be on it. The game that I'm looking at only because I just want to watch him dominate more is Boise State playing Utah State. Well, I mean, Genty might run for 400 more yards, maybe pick up 6 more touchdowns.
I mean, it's getting ridiculous.
You're having an insane year when they pull up the graphics of you, Barry Sanders, when it comes to how good you're doing so far. I know it's college and running back. Will it translate to the NFL? I guess we'll see. Go ahead and get into other Heisman talk, but that's the game I'm looking at.
When you have 14 touchdowns in 4 weeks, and one of those weeks you got pulled at half, and you didn't even have a touchdown.
Yeah, you didn't even have a touchdown.
That I believe week 2 or week 3 game. You gotta look at that. He's, at least for me, he's the Heisman front runner. I think we can name a couple more people that might be trailing behind him. One probably plays both sides in Colorado. But at least for me, I'm looking at Genty and he's that guy. I mean, to produce these kind of numbers, it's the Mountain West. It's lower level competition. But as a college football fan, I would love to see him on a big stage, like maybe a 12-team college football playoff, and see what he could do against one of these bigger teams.
Well, so I just wanted to check real quick, because obviously I didn't have the stats on the top of my mind. When they played Oregon, and they lost by 3, obviously that's their only loss. Boise definitely would now, especially with the fact that I know it's like a random school to think about, but you're talking about highest ranked non-Power 4 team, right? That gets into playoff.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at something with how easy their schedule is, like UNLV. Could possibly do it only because their schedule isn't that strong and whatever, but with no quarterback and running back, with all of that stuff that's going on there, they're probably not going to be there. So you're looking at Boise, and just as the best matchup they've had so far, Oregon, Genty had 25 carries for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's against top 10 school and someone you're going to see in the playoff.
Big 10 champion.
Yeah, someone you're definitely going to see in the playoff. So it's interesting to see, you're right. They go ahead and they play Utah State, the Hawaii, and then they play UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, Oregon. He might run for 10,000 yards this year. But at least what he's shown against those really good teams, it doesn't matter who he's running against. And, you got to give props to that offensive line, too, whenever that run game is that good. That offensive line's obviously moving bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
And it certainly probably helps their pass game out a lot. Any play action gets everybody biting.
Yeah.
That's just, like I said, I like to watch a lot of college football, but I'll sit there and watch I'll just flick through them. Mm-hmm. I'll legitimately sit there and watch an entire Boise State game or like a Colorado game just strictly because people like Genty and Hunter are special.
Yeah. I mean, looking at, special players, I gotta say Travis Hunter's name. I got to give him his flowers. And you guys know I'm one of the biggest Colorado haters.
Yeah.
I think they're overrated. I definitely don't like Shador. And I'm a hater against Travis Hunter, but I got to be realistic. When you're playing 100 to 120 snaps a game, both sides of the ball at an exceptional level, it's hard to argue with greatness. And he shows that every week so far, he's going to put up 100 yards catching in a touchdown, and he's going to friggin' have an interception, a couple pass deflections, like every week on defense.
The guy he's up against has like 3 catches.
Yeah, it's almost like crazy how we have an athlete nowadays where you don't really, I don't think you've ever seen a guy go both ways, at least as efficiently, as effectively as he does. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be that, that second guy, if not first guy for the Heisman watch.
I think you kind of said it right on. It's the efficiency. Like, I'm sure there's been some people that have tried to do both. Obviously, I can't think of any names right now, but it's the level that it's the argument I have. Sorry to go off sports wise, just to go with, like, personally for me, I think the best player on the Dodgers is Mookie Betts, because you could go up to Mookie Betts 10 minutes before the game and say, hey, boss, you're playing right field, you're playing second base, you're playing shortstop, you're playing here. It doesn't matter, because it's just going to be elite level wherever he's playing. That's the same thing with Travis Hunter. You're getting elite level wide receiver, elite level corner.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could. I mean, he's a little smaller. Obviously, he can't be in the box to be able to play. He could probably play the nickel, but he's a little small. Probably couldn't play linebacker. Definitely could probably play safety.
Yep.
So you're thinking he can play multiple positions in the NFL. It's going to be tough to do both because nobody hits like the men's league.
I don't see it.
It's just going to be
the NFL. I don't think a team would want him to play both anyways. I mean, NFL is all about longevity, right?
Yeah.
So you want, especially if a guy who's going to be drafted in the top 5, you want to get the most out of him in the most years, right? I see him being a very, almost elite productive cornerback.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you what you thought he was.
And hey, throw him at punt return, throw him at kick return. Yeah. See what you could do there maybe. And who knows, with the offensive coordinators nowadays, right? You're looking at it, they're going to put in packages for
you could drop.
Put him on a jet sweep, put him on a pop pass. He's going to get some offensive looks, but he's not playing both sides of the game the entire 60 minutes. That's just unrealistic.
Well, it's got to be because, and you're not going to notice it in the first half or even 3/4 of the game. But what you fear is him playing both sides in the NFL.
Yeah.
Him playing both sides. Fourth quarter comes, he goes to put his foot in the ground to go a different way with the ball after catching it. And he's not as fast. He gets blown up. And then now he's hurt.
Yeah.
And so, and like I said, in college, you play a lot of guys and they're all good, a lot better than me, all. But they don't hit as hard as, you put your foot in the ground and turn, and standing right there is a 6'5", 280-pound linebacker that can run a 4.3, and he just destroys them. It's like, okay, yeah, but maybe we shouldn't have this dude. And now he's out, and now he can't do either.
Yeah.
But real quick, I know we're backtracking a little bit, but I thought about this when it comes to Genty. I made a 5-star. I made a 3-star quarterback in NCAA. I did all right. Won a few Heismans. Took Rutgers to the promised land. After I was bored, after I graduated, I made a 5-star running back. I haven't even put up that good of numbers
in a video game.
Yeah. And I'm a 5-star recruit, and it's my second year, so I'm like a 93 overall.
Not even close.
Not even close. I'm probably going to be fair, coach is kind of fucking me. I only get like 10 touches a game, but whatever.
You got to eat with those.
14 yards, baby.
Let's see. Let me ask AJ this. When I say wide receiver university, what is the first school that pops up in your head?
So this might be a little more recency bias, but for me, I think, like, even when you just asked the question, I think initially it's got to be LSU. Because for me, you get guys like Odell Beckham, you got Jamar Chase, you got Justin Jefferson, Jarvis Landry's another guy.
Thomas.
I mean, yeah, there you go, Brian Thomas, and he was the second fiddle to who? Trying to think of a name. No, last year he was the main guy.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of when Chase was there. And Jefferson, they were played together. So, because Chase graduated, I think, a year after he did.
Yep.
And so, I mean, just thinking those two guys that are, I mean, shit, they might be the best two wide receivers in the NFL right now. Yeah. So for him to be a wide receiver 2 at the time, I guess that just goes to show what kind of great team that was at the time. But for me, I think LSU's wide receiver university when I think of them. At least recently.
That's a good argument. I think when you think of wide receiver U, I think 3 schools come up to mind. Mm-hmm. Obviously LSU, and then I think of Ohio State, and I think of USC. Brian, do any of those schools fit in your criteria? Or
yeah, I was gonna say Ohio State, and it's a little bit of recency bias, a little bit of not. Obviously, now you have the bright star. He's starting to figure it out. Marvin Harrison Jr. Ooh. But you go back. Not putting a whole lot of production up this year. Chris Olave also went there. You're also talking about somebody that can maybe start figuring out with this quarterback. They didn't look good last week, but Garrett Wilson also went to Ohio State.
Shit.
And there's a lot more, to be honest with you.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas went there, and I was trying to look at him, and I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of guys I had no idea who they were there, but they were ranked in like the top 10 Ohio State wide receivers of all time.
Oh, but that's just longevity of playing there.
I didn't know who David Boston was. And he was 2.
He got drafted by the Chargers.
Yeah, but I'm sure you played all 4 years and stuff like that.
So. Well, yeah,
which you don't see a lot of now.
Exactly.
And I will say that maybe a little slept on here. Although this might be more like a quantity over quality thing. Alabama has a lot of good wide receivers.
Definitely.
Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith.
A lot of people argue and do say that Amari Cooper is one of the top route runners in the NFL. He runs routes really well. Mm-hmm. So I think, I can't rattle off a bunch of wide receivers from Alabama, but I do think that they could, kind of sneak in there. It's for me at least, being someone that just started watching, really getting into college football a lot more recently. Mm-hmm. I don't really have the knowledge to know more than just a few years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about recency bias. Look at Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old catching game winners against Georgia, the biggest game of the year probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it just shows that how good of recruiting Alabama has.
With no Nick Saban too.
Yeah, I was gonna say with and without him.
For me, obviously, I'm gonna go with USC. When I think of wide receivers, I think of USC. And they've all, for the most part, produced in the NFL. I look at, you want to go with more recent guys. Jordan Addison, former Biletnikoff winner. Mm-hmm. He, to be fair, he went with Pitt, but he did transfer to USC and had a really good season with Caleb there. Mm-hmm. But then you have guys like Marquise Lee, Robert Woods, Keyshawn Johnson back in the day,
Drake London,
like Amon Ra. Like, mm-hmm. When you think of like a couple teams of the NFL have USC wide receivers as wide receiver 1s, obviously when you look at the levels, right, you have Drake London and then there's Justin Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
So obviously the eliteness level is not there. But when I think of like college wide receivers who always produce, USC wide receivers produce, especially this year. Look at Jacoby Lane, just transferred in this year. He has 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he shows to be Miller Moss's number 1 target. So he's producing really well. I think all these schools have arguments, but I'm gonna go with a little bias and go with USC.
By the way, just a little bit of a poll here, and I promise I didn't look this up. I think Santonio Holmes also went to Ohio State.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I was thinking of Nelson Aguilar too.
Yeah, I'd go. I've not heard me say it, but I literally leaned. I was like, Aguilar.
Come on, the Ravens legend, Nelson Aguilar.
That's a callback from the guest
right here. This table. Oh man, right. But I was gonna say, just kind of off the back of that, while we wrap up the college football, mm-hmm. because you said wide receiver. University. I was thinking, let's go real quick, little tangent here. Most important position on the field, kicker. Yes.
Kicker?
Love. No, stop. hardest position to play in any sport. Who do you think would be a quarterback university? That's rough, only because a lot of great quarterbacks come from some random ass schools.
That's a tough question. Are we considering quarterback university as the university that's producing most quarterbacks in the NFL? Or are we producing in their peak in college? How good were they?
So
like, what are we?
So if we're going to talk about how good they were just college, I think a lot of, at least me personally, I'd also follow up with USC because back in the day, like Leinart, Palmer, even now Caleb and all that, you could argue. I'm going to say, let's put some boundaries on this. Let's weigh how good their NFL career was. Because you could say like Alabama, because right now they have two.
That's what I was thinking.
Jalen. And so obviously, they're fine. Yeah, well. They're obviously fine. And I'd say they're successful in the NFL. I mean, the Eagles got some problems and Tua unfortunately can't stay healthy. But I'd say if this is maybe a thinker that we should, think about and do another time. But I was just curious on what you guys think would be a quarterback university.
I mean, if it was strictly off of college career, not NFL career, USC's taking it by.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at, like you said, Carson Palmer, Heisman Trophy winner. Matt Leinart, Heisman Trophy winner. Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winner. That's 3 quarterback Heisman Trophy winners since the year 2000.
I know.
And then you can throw in guys like Mark Sanchez, who was a very good college quarterback.
Championship.
Went to the AFC, championship game. The butt fumble king. And then, for me, that would be the easy QBU. But then you look at Ohio State.
That's who I was thinking.
Braxton Miller, Terrell Pryor, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields.
Are you going to give Joe Burrow his flowers?
Joe Burrow was not. He is not an Ohio State guy.
That's like saying that Justin Fields is at Georgia. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah.
But I mean, they have again elite, productive
college
quarterback, right? But this couldn't produce it in the NFL.
You're not going to give Syracuse quarterback, forgot his name.
You don't even know him.
Ohio State quarterback.
Oh, it's Cade McCord.
Yeah.
I mean, he's balling out this year, so he just needed a little change of scenery, play some ACC talent.
Oh, I think he needed to get the hell out of the Big Ten, stop playing Michigan. That's what he needed to do.
That's fair.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I guess it's something we got to think about because you think about all the greats. Obviously Brady, Michigan, Manning, Tennessee. Give some recognition to his brother.
Ole Miss.
Yeah. Like, it's just like these quarterbacks kind of come from not random schools. Obviously,
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Lamar, Louisville.
Yeah. I mean,
Zach Mettenberger.
It just seems like one university all has like one stud quarterback.
I mean, it shows how hard it is to hit on a quarterback, right? At least one that
seriously
produce in the NFL.
100%.
Drew Brees,
Purdue, Boilermaker. I mean, just to touch up on that again, I look at it and it's like it just shows how, like you said, one of the hardest position, if not the hardest position to play, especially translating it from high school level to college to pro. You got to get better and better each year.
Oh yeah,
you got to take it up a notch every single time. So,
and it's interesting you said that because what about the Heisman Trophy winners? Because I'd say individually, yes, 100% USC would be a quarterback university, but I don't want to beat this drum again. But you'd have to kind of give a nod to Alabama, only because in college, I mean, shit, they won so many natties. They had to have had a good quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair for sure. Joe Namath, Alabama.
Okay.
Mac Jones, the GOAT.
Yeah, but see, this is what I'm talking about. Like when it comes
AJ McCarron,
he was very successful at Alabama. Obviously, the pros didn't work out. So I think that when we put these boundaries of like quarterback university, you need to think about how their NFL career went. And I think that's just something we would have to do some research on.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Alabama, really quick, you gotta. It's going to help the quarterback a lot when you're handing the ball off 20 times to guys like Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry.
Talk about RB factor.
Cole Scarborough, like guys that are Damian Harris, guys that were elite in college and produced in the NFL.
Yeah.
Maybe not Bo Scarsborough, but Trent Richardson was really good in college.
Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy.
Man, dude, Alabama must just have a thing where you get full for a few years. Well, the hunting back. Damn. Derrick Henry didn't listen.
Tevin Coleman?
Wow. I don't know if he went to Alabama.
That's something I'm thinking. Tevin Coleman.
Tevin Coleman.
Oh, no. That's not right.
He said, that's not right.
Georgia? I don't know where he went to. Oh, I think it was Devontae Freeman.
Oh, wow. The Hoosiers. That's gross. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and close this out here. I'm looking at the matchups. AJ, I know you didn't really you aren't as invested in college football, but are there any matchups that you think off the top of your head? Do you remember anything like that?
Well, I was gonna butt in earlier when you were talking about it being a letdown week. I feel like any week would have been a letdown following Georgia and Alabama, and especially the game that they had last week.
Very true.
So I mean, that hype level for that, building into that, is obviously going to take a lot to get there. And then obviously the downfall from watching such an incredible game is, anything's going to be like upsetting, I guess.
Real quick, I'm curious to get your reaction on this. Obviously, a former USC head coach. Old Miss lost last week to apparently a wagon of Kentucky because they played Georgia real tough and then they beat Old Miss.
Yeah. Old Miss, the SEC, man. The SEC is crazy in Kentucky.
Anybody except for Vanderbilt. Anybody except for Vanderbilt. But so Old Miss plays South Carolina.
Baseball.
South Carolina looks pretty good. They did lose, but they look pretty good. I'm curious to get your take on, do you think Lane Kiffin can get the boys rallied up and play South Carolina hard in South Carolina? It's tough barn to play.
Yeah,
tough barn.
I think they can. I'm looking at Ole Miss, right? They hit on, again, quarterback university. Jackson Dart, former USC, he was a backup there. He got a chance to start a couple of games, but then hit the transfer portal, went to Ole Miss, produced really well last year, showing that he's producing this year. But yeah, I think with that offense, it's a pretty high-powered offense. They can get it done. I mean, I'm not a guy who would be scared of South Carolina, but it's the SEC. It's an in-division matchup. Like, it's going to be a tough game no matter what.
Yeah.
But Lane Kiffin, he's been there before. He's a good coach. Not when he was with USC the last couple of years, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, I think they could get it done. I'm also looking at I will never root for the Bruins, but I want them to hand Penn State an upset loss. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I can't wait till we lose by 40.
Oh my God.
That's in. So that's in Penn State too, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
I do believe that's their homecoming.
That is. I need the Bruins to upset the Nittany Lions.
Whoever made that schedule for UCLA is absolutely criminal.
I mean, look at USC. Maybe a USC schedule
It's
too.
Big Ten. It's a new Big Ten.
I don't care. I don't care if we played Utah State.
Anymore.
We go into the Big House, lost, but what a game! Only lost by 3. Then we played, Wisconsin, who had us on the heels the first half. Came back and beat them. But then later in the week, we end with later in the season, we end with Penn State, Notre Dame, Rutgers, who's 4-0. Like, the Pac-12 teams are getting a taste of some Big Ten football for sure.
So I'll ask that real quick as we close out, and maybe put some bias aside here. If you were to take both, because it's obviously just these two, if you were to take both the Big Ten and the SEC, which conference do you think has more talent?
Oof. More talent?
More talent or better teams?
I think it has to be SEC. I mean, you look at Alabama just upset Georgia, right? Jalen Milroe is probably, he might toss his hat in the ring for the Heisman Trophy too.
That's what I was thinking of with the Georgia win.
Yeah. And then obviously Georgia. I think the only teams that can compete with those top 2 SEC teams, you want to throw in Tennessee as the top 3 teams too, is Ohio State. I don't think Michigan goes into Georgia, Alabama, or Tennessee and beats them. I don't think Oregon goes into any of those teams, like home stadiums, and beats them.
And Texas.
Texas, number one school in the nation.
No, Alabama is now.
That's
I
crazy.
didn't really.
They shouldn't be. But again, it is a big win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Texas too. How can you forget? And then, realistically, outside of Ohio State, who's competing with those teams in the Big Ten? Now, Oregon, everyone thought, but guess what? They're struggling against Boise State. You know, USC's love them. There's no way they're competing with Alabama or Georgia right now, or Texas.
I think that with a lot of these Big Ten schools, like Oregon, like USC, like all them, Ohio State has the unique size and speed. That's what makes them elite. Every school in the SEC has the blend of size and speed.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you know, you play a team, like if USC were to play a team like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, or Texas, matchup-wise, speed-wise, they can go all day.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is those big boys in the SEC a little bit bigger than everybody else, and they can move people around. And I think that it shows when those teams kind of play. I mean, you remember, obviously, I don't want to bring this up, but you remember when Alabama was number 1 and USC was number 2, and they went into it. We won't go into what happened in that game. But
Whatever happened to that guy Barkins?
Hey, we got a bunch of dogs. They got put down that game.
That's the only.
All right.
well, I think they were holding him back on the fucking leash.
Crazy.
Hey, that'll happen sometimes. That'll happen sometimes. That was it.
Like 56-0.
Something like that.
Listen, that'll happen sometimes. Bama will get shit like that.
Yeah, I guess
that was the first week of the season, right?
Yeah.
Week 1. They said let's play the Natty week 1. That ended up being Georgia TCU.
I know the UCLA fans not fucking laughing over here too.
It's rough right now. It's rough. It's rough.
You guys need Josh Rosenback.
Oh, Pat. Oh, we're blazing DTR like he was fucking the second coming of Michael Vick.
Hey, when you're looking at Ethan Garbers now, he might be when you compare him to him. So
Hey, at least DTR he's the third string at the team he's at right now.
Yeah.
But
sir,
he's probably the second best quarterback out of that team. So
I don't know if I can make that argument.
that's only because you're a Texans fan.
No, I'm just saying that because he played and he was throwing picks left, right, and center.
Well, the guy they have playing now, making 200 and something million guaranteed, still throwing picks left, right, and center. So
Yeah, you know, it happened.
listen, he's just. I saw this on the internet, so don't cancel me. But he's just playing a little tight right now. He's not getting the massages. He can play loose.
That might be the case.
That could be. All right, guys.
Yep. There.
Yes. I was gonna add.
I was gonna outro.
I was gonna outro us, but we're good.
We got time. No, we got time. All right.
Well, now it's gonna be like, oh,
That's fine. No, we'll keep this in.
Josh, keep this editor. You can do.
No, he doesn't even need to edit it. Okay. All right, guys. We'll go ahead and we'll move on to more topics and a little NFL, a little fantasy, and at some point I'm gonna have to squeeze in something. No. We'll see. All right, guys. Welcome back. We left off with the college football. We're moving on to the men's league now, and we're gonna go off. We all play it. We all ride the roller coaster of fantasy football. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get into a little bit of a discussion of fantasy football here. Who we think has been good, who we think has been bad, who do you think you should trade away, who do you think should keep, drops, etc. Everything, kind of cover a whole broad base of some fantasy football here. So let's go ahead and get into it. Does anybody want to start us off? If not, I am more than ready to start us off.
Go ahead.
All right, Rashad White sucks. I drafted this dude. What?
I was gonna say, so does Bucky Irving after tonight's game.
Well, I mean, listen, but Bucky Irving's a rookie, so I'd expect that. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. I just want to make sure I know where I drafted. I drafted in the 4th round, 7th pick. I don't think that was much of a reach.
It's normal.
I think that was all right. Listen, the 4th round, you're the RB1 on your team. You were good last year. Did I think you're going to split carries with Bucky Irving? Personally, yes, I did.
Really?
I did. Yeah, I thought, listen, they drafted Bucky Irving pretty high in the draft. I thought that if you're going to draft a running back that high, he's obviously going to get his chances. But God damn it, dude. Like, let's run. Like, what frustrates me is we literally just watched the Bucks score 30 points. Where's Rashad White? You're the RB1. Like this dude has put up. Hold on, let me make sure I get this correct. This dude has put up. We'll go position right.
And this is a generous league we're in.
This is a very generous league we're in. So first week he had 15 rushing attempts. Since then, not more than 10.
Yeah.
Love that.
He's had more than 5 receptions twice. One game he had 1. The other ones he had 2 and 3. I'm kind of stalling because I can't find where his points are. Found him. He had 18, 3, 9, 13, 10.
Wow.
RB1.
Right now, among PPR running backs, somehow, some way. No, I guess no, because there are 32 teams in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's ranked 32.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Thank God there's not a backup that has more points than him. But I mean,
Braylon Allen?
he might.
I think he does. He had one good week.
Rashad White got no good. So I guess that's just mine. I mean, this is a league where I definitely needed running backs to produce because I didn't draft a running back until Rashad White. Is that my fault? Probably. But I didn't like any of the other running backs when I was going to take them. I got a little bit saved because J.K. Dobbins and David Montgomery have been really good. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately had to start White this week, as we're talking about this in week 5, where I almost said the Tigers, sorry, the Lions, wrong, Jumbo Cat in Detroit. The Lions are on bye. Yeah. So I had to start him. I was going to sit him. I sat him last week. I had to kind of have a bone to pick with Rashad White, right?
That's right.
Fuck it.
Do you got a guy you want to go with?
I mean, as far as we're 5 weeks in, just watched him play. I'm really disappointed in my boy, Bijan Robinson.
You have his jersey.
I mean, he drafted him top 7. Mm-hmm. You got to look at he was supposed to be that guy, right? Him or Breece Hall. Those are the first 2 running backs off the board in most leagues. Obviously, depending on what league you are.
Unless you had the inside scoop on McCaffrey.
Yeah, nobody did.
Fair, yeah,
nobody did.
But I mean, yeah, you look at Bijan Robinson. He's just not getting. I feel like he's getting enough touches, but not as much as as a fantasy owner I would like, right?
Yeah.
Because Tyler Algier is still there. He's getting plenty of touches there as well. But you look at these. Bijan is getting like the dump offs, some rushing or like 10 to 12, maybe 15 rushing attempts.
That's not gonna cut it for an RB1 that you drafted.
Yeah, you drafted in the first round. You want a workhorse, right? Yeah. A guy that's gonna touch the rock 30 times a game. But we'll see. We'll see if he picks it up towards the second half of the season. Maybe he finds his legs. But I think I really want to see more production out of in the receiving game. You know, because he catches everything. I think Kirko doesn't like dumping down.
I think he's spinning, dude. I think he's definitely lacking the touchdowns, which is what's really hurting him.
It's 5 weeks, no touchdowns, so that'll do it.
So,
to say the least, yeah, definitely lacking touchdowns.
So to put this into perspective, I pulled this up. He did double Algier in carries. 12, still not all that much.
Mm-hmm.
6. But they also had the same amount of receptions. Both 3. He went for 16 yards on 3 receptions, and Algier went for 13.
Okay.
I think that if you're going to try and get the ball to him, and maybe, listen, everybody thought that it was the reason Bijan wasn't really getting involved was because their OC last year. I guess maybe that's proven not to be the case. Although 15 touches in a game, total touches in a game, is a lot. Maybe he's not that guy you run in between the tackles, obviously. But you got to draw some stuff up, get your playmakers the ball. I mean, they did a good job getting Drake London the ball tonight.
I would say probably for the first
receptions.
time. For the first time, probably all season, though.
Damn near in his career.
Yeah, that's
what everyone. Drake London produced what everyone expected when Kirk Cousins sided with them.
Exactly.
100%.
Drake London's never really. He was fucking catching balls from Desmond Ritter last year.
That part.
Or what's his face? Taylor
Heineke.
All right. We don't need to shit on Taylor Heineke.
Gross. But yeah, finishes with 12 catches, 150 yards and a touchdown.
I mean,
scary hit, got a little banged up throughout the game, but he continued to play. He shows the toughness there. AJ, do you have a guy that you're pretty disappointed in so far?
I'm looking at a guy that owns him in fantasy football right now, and it's Mark Andrews.
Yeah. That's
And I mean, you're drafting this guy to be a what? I'm not gonna say top 3 because I think those days were past him even before the draft. But for sure, top 6, top 7, for sure, a premium tight end. And I mean, what? This is consecutive weeks with a goose.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think draft. It's been a rough year for tight ends.
yeah, to say the least.
But to call that rough would be an understatement because zeros. And that's what you get from maybe guys like, I don't even know, Tyler Conklin or, your little flyers here and there, but not a guy you're drafting in
streaming every week.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'll say not Tyler Conklin with Aaron Rodgers. He throws them a lot.
a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, shit, more than fucking.
but more than Mark Andrews. And I mean, for a guy you're drafting, let's say no later than the 6th, 7th round, no later, and maybe as early as the late 4th, probably fit.
Yeah.
And I think if you're drafting a tight end, especially in those positions, you need way more. And Gooses, I mean, you could literally probably pick up any other tight end, and they're going to get you a point. So
yeah, and you can't even argue that it's because of Isaiah Likely anymore because he had that one, or the first week and the second week, those 2 breakout weeks. But just Lamar hasn't needed to throw to them.
Yeah.
Or to utilize the tight ends really. They're there to block. We're a run first team. Obviously, the Ravens are. And if anything, if the season continues to go like last week, where we're handing the ball off to Derrick Henry,
do it.
there's
Please.
going to be a limit. Mark Andrews will become droppable, and that's so crazy to say, even compared to him being hurt last year and stuff.
And I would say he was doing great last year before he got hurt.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
So I mean, it's all of a sudden just Lamar doesn't want to get him the ball, and I mean, I guess you signed Derrick Henry for that reason, to be as dominant as they looked last week.
Yeah.
But I mean, zeros is unheard of for him.
I think it speaks volumes that I looked up. 'Cause I was curious because, oddly enough, talking about tight ends that normally block, you think about Kittle. And Kittle is the number 2 tight end, at least in the fantasy league I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Kittle missed a week.
You might even miss this week.
So that speaks volumes. I mean, Kittle here, at least in this week, went 8 points, 8.5 the first week, 22 against the Vikings, missed the week, and then went 15 against the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not really, when that's still getting you the second highest tight end in fantasy football.
Been a bad year.
Rough.
It's been a bad year.
That's rough. I mean, and you're thinking about, you're talking about the Ravens, and yeah, if they keep using Derrick Henry, and I have no idea why they wouldn't. You send out a package where you got Likely. They always love to run those 2 tight end packages,
especially given that receiver room.
And I'll tell you what. When they got Patrick Card back there too, lead blocking for Derrick Henry, it's hard enough to stop Derrick Henry, let alone with 2 tight ends and Ricard back there. Derrick Henry's going to keep doing what he's doing if they're going to give him the rock.
Yep.
And it's interesting, the good blocking that they offer. You normally see those big home runs from Derrick Henry in like the 3rd and 4th quarter where he's been pounding it all game.
Pounding the D?
Yeah, pounding the D all game. And then they get worn out, tired, whatever, and then he busts for a 70-yard long touchdown. But that's not what you see.
But after his 24th carry.
That's Derrick Henry football.
Yeah.
But when it's the first play of the game and he bounces, and listen, and people were calling Derrick Henry washed. People were calling Derrick Henry maybe a little bit slow. No, I've always been a King Henry lover.
Yeah.
He was pulling away from guys.
Yeah, still.
Safeties and corners in that first run.
Yeah.
Everybody should be fresh. Everybody.
Yeah.
I get pulling away from guys when it's the 3rd quarter and you've worn them out for touching the ball 22 times, trying to run them over.
Yeah.
But that's the first play of the game. Yeah. Everybody's fresh, and he's pulling away from everybody. It's impressive.
Yeah.
And I don't, like you were saying, I don't see a future. It could obviously change. The Ravens have such a good dynamic offense to where one game they could run Derrick Henry for 30, and then when they stack the box, they go out there, and Lamar's so talented, they could go out there and spray the ball all over the place and win a game like that. So, but I will say that I could definitely see I don't see a future for Mark Andrews, at least right now, with the way it looks like their offense is going to go. It's funny how Harbaugh said that they weren't going to give the ball to Henry 30 times, and then it turns out maybe the winning formula for your team is to give the ball to Henry 30
I
times.
think that's what happens when you start 0-2. You're like, we got to change something up.
Do something. Like,
So-
we gotta give the huge guy we gave a bunch of money
Yeah.
more touches. And listen, dude, they're still one game back. You're welcome.
For what?
The division.
You know, the division. You're
Take the
welcome.
Colts for that one.
Ass.
You're welcome. Colts are wide.
Joe Flacco now?
Joe
wanna talk
Flacco's a Steeler killer.
You want to talk? He really is. He was wearing purple out there.
I love it.
But I will say, you
Under
want to
his
talk about
jersey.
disappointment.
So funny how Joe Flacco's the best quarterback on the Colts. It's so
That-
funny.
oh.
I love it. I love it.
He's got them their only win.
They're
I-
2-2, big.
I don't know.
Oh, it?
I don't know who bought into the Anthony
They
Richardson
beat the
hype.
Bears last week.
Oh, they did. That was an ugly win, though.
I don't know
Yeah,
who
well, I
bought
don't
into the
care. It
Anthony
was a win.
Richardson hype, but if you did,
Keep buying.
return to sender,
Keep
because he
buying.
is Mr. Glass. He's Samuel L. Jackson.
Mm.
He is fragile, and I'm saying this as a Lamar fan. And Anthony Richardson, you can't touch him because he's gonna be out a couple weeks. It just shows that what the Colts need is to have a passing game to use with Jonathan Taylor, and with Anthony Richardson not completing, barely 10 passes in a game.
He went 3
That's
for
what it's
4
like in a
before he
game.
got hurt.
Well, guess what? He got hurt.
I know.
He's one of the youngest quarterbacks in the league.
And I think you got to look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, who he's bigger than him. I don't know if I would say faster, but
It's
certainly
close.
bigger. And I mean, just because you can take the hits doesn't mean you need to. And
Gotta be smart
especially
with
at the
it.
quarterback position,
Yeah.
I mean, look how skinny Lamar is. He's done just fine up until this point about, making his guys miss or playing it safe and sliding.
Yeah.
And I think he could definitely take a note out of his book and, learn how to do that, because clearly the hits, they're stacking up now.
Like I said with Lamar, he just has the talent of avoiding the big hit. And Richardson doesn't. And I did bring up the Colts, not for them to get shit on, but apparently that's what was going to happen. They have the same record as the Ravens, so I need you to relax. Tougher division too, so we'll.
No arguments here.
Look out, dude.
The division that
The
has
Titans-
the 0-4 Jaguars.
The Titans won.
got
baby.
it. Yeah, tougher division.
Will Levis might be driving the wagon. You never know.
The Titans are terrible.
Listen,
Jaguars are 0-4. The Colts are terrible. The best team is the Texans, and they almost lost last week.
They did it.
and the Colts almost lost too. Listen. The Colts only won because do you know what their game plan for? Sorry in advance. You know what the game plan was for T.J. Watt? This right here, baby. That's what it was. They just hold on for dear life. But like I said, I didn't bring up the Colts for them to get dookied on. I brought up the Colts for one guy to get dookied on, and that's just because they're not giving him the ball. In the first part, we brought up USC wide receivers, and unfortunately, this USC wide receiver has not seen the production that maybe his contract certainly says he should.
Hey, but finally,
Look who was throwing the ball to him before last week. Just saying.
finally got the ball. And I mean, they won.
Guess what? You give the best receiver on your team some targets, you might win a game. You might produce.
They won last week.
You might produce at the wide receiver level.
They won last week.
I'm
2 weeks
saying.
ago.
I would say you can't live
They
off
beat
of
your Caleb Williams Baylor.
You
Bears.
can't live.
Bears.
You
Bears.
can't live off of two nice 50-yard bombs to Alex
Yes, I
Pierce.
can.
You can't live off.
Yes,
that.
I can.
It
And
can't.
I will.
That's not going to win you ball games.
It's like hits of cocaine.
All right.
Jeez.
This is a family show.
Sure, rush. Win. Win.
I'm just saying, it doesn't surprise me that
That
you
dude in Germany can do it. I can do it.
You get Joe Flacco in, who says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna sling the ball," right?
Mhm.
Like he did last year when he comeback player of the year, deservedly so. He goes
came
in
back
there
from
and
death.
he's like, "Wow, I have this 6'4", almost all pro wide receiver one on my team, who is seen maybe before that game a total of 10 targets in 3 to 4 weeks. Ridiculous.
Certainly not 10 catches.
Yeah,
Certainly not.
ridiculous. Guess what? You feed the man, you produce an offense, you win a ball game. Simple as that.
All right, we're going off the Colts. All right, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go to the Texans. Tank Dell sucks.
Hey, he's coming off injury.
He's been hurt, but he does suck.
Oh, there's lots of mouths to feed. Okay, but can you say that about Dalton Schultz this year then?
Yes.
He doesn't suck, but he's not seeing anywhere
It's
near.
Dalton Schultz. People were thinking Tank Dell was the next freaking Julian Edelman with how he was producing last week.
Yeah, and Tank Dell and Stroud were boys, but then Stroud kicked him to the side like a bum girlfriend and picked up fucking Stephon Diggs.
I'm just saying, when you look at everyone was saying in fantasy, especially, oh, Tank Dell's gonna be that guy. Stephon Diggs is not gonna be it. He's gonna be the third option there.
To be fair, I did
Stephon
also say
Diggs
that Stephon Diggs was going to
is shown that hey, he's still Stephon Diggs. He's gonna produce, and CJ Stroud trusts him, in the little time that they've had together compared to him and Tank Dell's relationship. But obviously being hurt doesn't help Tank Dell. But he is coming back for that, so we'll see if he can produce. Because guess what? Having 3 really good wide receivers is better than having 2. So we'll see.
And we will.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can produce. But I mean, you look at the Texans, it was a little scary last week. A little shaky.
Wasn't great.
It
It wasn't great. And I mean, it came down literally to their last offensive drive.
Yeah.
So,
But you love to see that. You love to see that they can,
yeah, I mean, as a fan,
They should.
it's not so much fun to watch, but
it'll raise your blood pressure. But
I mean, I think well, going off the wide receiver 3 talk, I think it's hard when your main guy is Nico Collins, who is leading the NFL in receiving yards. So I think that gap from 1 to 2, I think it's big for anyone between Diggs. I mean, I'm not going to put Dalton Schultz in there, or Tank. So I think, either one's going to have an all right game, but I think you're still going to see Nico eating because he's been an absolute machine this year already.
Yeah.
So,
of
course, the disparity between the two, I don't think it's going to be that different come the end of the year, but we'll see.
I think Tank Dell will have 2 to 3 games where they're going to need him. And if you're talking fantasy-wise, he's going to get 20, 30-plus points. But then he's going to live in that range that he's in now for the majority of the season. I can see that because
for sure.
when you have 3 really good wide receivers like that, you're going to have people game plan for Collins and Diggs. Tank Dell might slip out of a lot of the film that the team watches. They don't set up properly for Tank Dell, and then Tank Dell is going to make them regret it. I'm not saying, and we're just, well, obviously we said at the beginning, but we're just talking fantasy wise. Obviously, Tank Dell is a talent, but as a fantasy owner, I'd be a little bit worried unless he's like one of those guys where, you've benched him and he's sitting on your bench for 5 weeks and then all of a sudden you're regretting not playing him because he puts up 34. So you play him the next week and he puts up 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be very boom or bust this season with Diggs there. And as long as him and Nico stay healthy, I think you're going to see this little production here and then nothing the next week. It's going to be a roller coaster. So if you have him in fantasy, good luck trying to pick the weeks, to play him.
I mean, he's kind of like what? He's kind of like a Rashid Shaheed, right? When you look at
with 2 ACLs.
Look at the first 2 weeks. Shaheed had those big bombs to get the bonus. In our leagues, we have big bonuses, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting 20+ points on 3 or 4 catches, but because they're long catches, you get a lot of points. But then guess what? As soon as I trade for him, the week I trade for him, I start him. 0 points.
Patrick Mahomes hates him.
Love fantasy football.
Took out his knee.
Oh, he's talking about Rashid Shaheed.
Oh, Rashid Shaheed. That's my fault. He was good last week. My bad. For some reason, I'm sorry, dude. I'm still so flustered about the Colts. You have no idea. The Colts didn't deserve what you guys did.
Truth hurts.
Truth hurts. No, it's not the truth. They're 2-2.
I wasn't here to defend the Ravens when you guys shedded them last.
I didn't shit on the Ravens.
It's okay. It's okay.
I didn't shit on the Ravens.
Beating the Cowboys at home isn't a good win.
I picked the Ravens.
It's okay.
Cowboys are the Cowboys.
It's all right. Ravens have one of the harder schedules to begin with in the season, so being 2-2 is pretty good. Should have beat the Raiders and the Chiefs. Still be 4-0. We don't have to talk about that.
But you're not.
It's okay.
You're doing 2 like the Colts.
Yeah, well, Joe Flacco's a little better than Anthony Richardson.
I think even at what? Is he like 40?
He's like 38.
He's like 38, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I want you to, when you say Joe Flacco's name, I want you to call him former Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Listen, dude wanted to do what? I will tell you, it did shock me. I was listening to an interview. He said that he got no phone calls after that last year he had in Cleveland. Like the Colts were the only team to hit him up.
Really?
which I thought was weird because if I look at the NFL right now, I understand he's AR's backup. He's better than some of the 32 starting quarterbacks right now. As you're looking, he's certainly. Listen, I love him.
I would say he's better than Gardner Minshew.
I was literally about to bring that up. Pro Bowler last year, Gardner Minshew. Led the Colts. Led the Colts almost to the playoffs.
That just shows you how trash the Pro Bowl is, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Were there like 8 dudes that dropped out? Yes, but he was a Pro Bowler, all right.
Ew.
But yeah, someone like Minshew,
Yeah.
It does shock me that maybe you give Daniel Jones, one more try, but it does shock me that someone like the Giants didn't go on ground.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like that guy where if you want to win and be competitive, he's very similar to Andy Dalton. They're gonna win you games.
Yeah.
They're talented, but we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. One trade. If you were to want somebody right now, you think you could get on the low because they've had a slower start. Try and get them on the low. Is there anybody that comes to your mind where you're like, oh yeah, I'd want that guy because he's kind of gonna go off now that the league's starting to settle in. We're heading into week 5.
I mean, off the top of my head, I'm looking at a guy like maybe Chris Olave, who has been not too, explosive as maybe being the wide receiver one on a, at least for the first 3 weeks, a really good Saints team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him like he's been averaging, 15 to 20 points a week. So he could be a guy that could turn up and actually get you the production that you want. Obviously, if you have the right price for him, you're not trading a king's ransom for him. But
yeah,
I think he's a good guy to acquire. I mean, someone that's actually had a really hot start. I own him. Nico Collins. If you want to trade for Nico Collins, if you can, I think he's going to be consistently,
You obviously have to not overpay for him, but be a higher price. But
he's a wider.
Still going to put it up.
He's a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, so you're going to have to pay, wide receiver 2 price. Yeah, I mean, also I don't know if I'm taking any one of yours, but a guy maybe to buy on the low is Tyreek Hill.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the guy that popped into my mind right away was Brandon Ayuk. Got big money, all that. No training camp, no nothing. Missed the first week too, right? So he played. My bad.
He just played so bad that you thought he missed.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, that's not true because he dropped a touchdown. I would have won that week.
Exactly. He played that bad.
Well, but I saw him.
Yeah, there you go.
But so I think a lot of people, including myself, are kind of panicking on Brandon Ayuk. Now, this might, looking back, going 11 weeks in the future, looking back, this might be a time where you look at me as a good fantasy owner or a bad fantasy owner, depending on how Brandon Ayuk goes. But I'm going to hold on to him. I like that offense. Obviously, that offense got a lot of weapons. It looks like Mason's kind of filled in. Now, nobody can fill in for CMC.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he's doing a great job.
He's producing pretty well fantasy-wise, for sure.
Certainly. But so you're looking at, I just think that that's someone that it's one of those guys where it's Brandon Ayuk. He's got to figure it out. Something's going to happen. Kyle Shanahan's going to start drawing up some plays for him, whatever. Kyle Shanahan's probably the best play caller and play designer in the NFL. I'd say the only people that come to mind for me are like Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. He's also really good.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's Brandon Ayuk. If you can get him for a lower price, I think some people are still going to want a higher price because it is Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
I think you could get him for...
It's all about potential, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they do also say that if you build your team off of potential, it's the best way to get fired.
Yeah.
So that's someone that comes to mind for me.
I think for me, it's more of a matter of a guy that's just been hurt is going to be AJ Brown personally. And I think, someone that might be hurting as far as that might have been their number 1 pick. And I mean, they might be hurting on some depth. And they're like, especially with them on a bye week this week, I think he comes back week 6, probably healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then you got him for the rest of the season. You don't have to worry about the bye week. Hopefully the injuries past him. And I mean, like I said, you got him for the rest of the season. You don't got to worry about the bye. So that's someone for me that I'm personally looking at. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but that's just what I'm thinking.
That's a good guy to kind of fallen off the radar just due to injury, right?
Not play.
Obviously when he's healthy, he's top 10 wide receiver in the league, some would say. So if you can snag your hands on him for the cheap, that might be a good, or at least cheaper price compared to when he's fully healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Has 4 or 5 weeks of stats, right? But yeah, that's a guy that you can get your hands on. That's for the right price.
I'd say if your team's rolling, you might even want to be a risky guy and wait after week 6. If AJ Brown goes out there and doesn't look great, you might get a massive panic from that person.
Yeah, that's also true.
But
I feel like that's a gamble.
But that's certainly a gamble.
Yeah,
you could go out there and be AJ Brown.
Exactly. So I guess it just depends where you're gonna teeter at.
Yeah, it just depends. Like I said, it's only if you're like in a good spot.
Yeah,
where, you don't need AJ Brown. If your team's good, looking to make it great, really a good contender, you could risk that weight. But also, if you're thinking, if you're also just want to take the risk, I guess it's still AJ Brown.
Yeah,
just do it now.
Yeah, fair. I think that's all for us.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take another quick break, real quick, and we'll see you guys in the next half hour.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we're fresh back from our little fantasy football skit. Now we're gonna go and talk about the MLB playoffs. And I mean, just to go right off the bat, the man wearing the Mets jersey, I need to know how you're feeling. I mean, out of nowhere.
Like for people that don't know, we do the recording in my living room, and I texted them. They were saying they were on their way, and I was setting the tables up, and I told them I was going to be late setting everything up because my heart was going at like 250 beats a second.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a minute, a second. And that was probably right after Pete Alonso hit his home run. And I'll tell you what, I've always kind of been a Pete fan. Do I think he's going to re-sign with the Mets? Yes. But the fact that the past few days between the games against the Braves and the doubleheader, Game 1 and Game 2 against the Brewers,
Game 1,
Pete Alonso hadn't done anything. And even leading up to that, he was over 2 or 3 with a walk or something like that. So for him, everybody was saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for Pete Alonso to finally make an announcement, like finally do something or something." To do it then and at that stage, not only was obviously important for Mets fans, but I'm assuming it's important for him. And I'll tell you what, Pete Alonso getting hot is dangerous in the playoffs because he's that type of player that can hit 12 to 14 home runs in a month, let alone when it's just broken down into 5 games right now, 7 if you make CS and 7 if you make it to the World Series.
Yep.
But from just a pure standpoint, from a fan standpoint, I'll tell you what, man, that's Mets baseball. You look at the wild card, or not the wild card. You look at the game against the Braves.
Right.
Mets were trailing the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
They come back miraculously. Then they give up the lead. And then Lindor does what Lindor does. And just, there's a reason he has a hurt back. It's because he's been carrying the Mets. Yeah. And then the first wild card game goes all right. The second wild card game, the Mets put in, they got a lot of slack for. Because Phil Matson doesn't have the best numbers on the year.
Yeah.
But when he's gotten to the Mets, he has like a 1.7 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good guy to put in. I'm no manager, but I was one of those guys who was like, yeah, you put him in for this situation. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. Jackson Chirio's a star. And it didn't work out game 2.
Mm.
Game 3, fun fact. There have only been 2, since this new wild card thing, there have only been 2 game 3s and the Mets have been part of both.
Oh.
They lost against the Padres and then this one against the Brewers. So it's nothing new as a Mets fan. You ride the roller coaster as a Mets fan. They're the king of getting the bases loaded with no outs and then not scoring. I've always said that the Mets could be losing 98-0 going into the bottom of the ninth, score 97 runs and leave the bases loaded and lose the game. So it was just the lows of being a Mets fan are so low, but the highs of being a Mets fan are so incredibly high that the shorts got a little shorter when Pete Alonso hit that one. And now you're going to play a division rival with the Phillies, and they play the Phillies tough. and a lot of Phillies fans and Mets fans are saying this is going to be a bloodbath. And I was actually talking to Red before you guys got here, and I said that between two huge rivalries, the Mets and Phillies and the Dodgers and Padres, the AL has got to be really happy because whoever comes out of this DS is just, it's going to be a war. Both are going to be a war.
Mm-hmm.
And the CS is probably going to be a war now. Hopefully it's the Mets that go in both. But whoever, don't shake your head now. I saw that.
Did he earn the name?
Big Meat? Oh. I mean, I'd have to scroll too far back into my phone to send that message to you guys, but when he's holding that huge hog, I mean, dude, it's just kind of how it
It's
is.
warranted.
It
For
is.
this
I mean,
for this moment, it's warranted.
it's just it was just awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, there's not that many times. Certainly this year, I was very, very happy that the Mets even made the playoffs because the situation they were in
Yeah.
coming out of May. And I mean, what, 9-19 in May. They were 11 games below 500 and like 13, 14 games back of the wild card.
Yeah.
Something like that. To turn it around and play the amazing baseball they did, it almost felt they certainly did deserve a wild card spot. But you just knew that there was always going to be something with the Mets. And it almost happened. And then now the Brewers thing, it almost happened. I can honestly say, and I'll probably change my tune in 2 weeks from now when the DS is wrapped up, and if the Phillies win, I'll probably change my tune. Not that the Mets disappointed me or whatever, but I'll say now that as a Mets fan, the season has been fun and kind of a success. I'm not going to get into the whole fact that the Mets have a top 5 payroll and should be here. Bad business before Dave Stern got there has led them to that payroll. They're paying a whole lot of dudes that aren't on their team.
Yeah.
So I think that just that game and all that fit what the Mets were, down and out. They were in Milwaukee, and somehow they pulled it out with their not their dude. I would say Lindor is very much the Mets guy now,
sure.
but your guy the guy that when
Homegrown.
you close your eye, when you close your eyes and you think about someone that's going to hit a big time home run for the Mets, you think about Pete Alonso. Only because people said he had a down year, and he did, but he still hit 35 home runs, almost 4th in the NL on home runs. So when you close your eyes and you think about someone that's going to hit a big time home run for the Mets, it's Pete Alonso, and that's what doesn't always happen in baseball. But moments like that where your guy is up against their guy, there's not many people relief pitchers better than Devin Williams.
Yeah, certainly not.
And when your guy prevails, it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah,
it really is.
I mean, just off the back of that, I'm thinking you go to other series, and I think it dwarfs all the other ones because although the Tigers winning was, I would say, miraculous because their team is making $18.8 million right now. The one in the playoffs.
I know.
Because certainly
is making 19.
Yeah, and I say that because Javi Baez isn't on there clearly, but I mean, just miraculous. There's no other word to put it. And I mean, I don't know. Do you have any idea? Just, I think that's what happens when you get a team that buys in. Because I mean, you certainly look at the talent on there. I don't think you can name me 11 guys on that roster. Because I know I can't.
So listen, AJ Hinch got into Houston a little early and turned on those cameras they used in 2017. No, I'm joking. The Tigers are definitely bought in. They got a lot of young, good talent.
Yeah.
And young talent can take you one of two ways.
Yeah.
They're always incredibly inconsistent. They're young. They need to learn. And I think what makes it so amazing about what the Tigers are doing is most of the time, what would you say? A bullpen game, you maybe see a bullpen game twice a month from a team.
Yeah, I mean,
if a team's on a long road stretch, something like that, they'll throw a bullpen game in there to get the boys, the starters, a little bit of rest.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch, before the playoffs, for the wild card, they asked him what their situation was going to be. And he was like, well, we have Scooble game 1, and then we'll figure it out for 2 and 3.
That's
I think
fair.
It's amazing that their bullpen, I would say, kind of slept on. Because they went through this amazing run with Carrick Scooble, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bullpen dudes. Now, a lot of people on paper would say, and certainly deservedly so, the Padres have the best bullpen in the MLB. Went out there and got Tanner Scott. They have an amazing bullpen. They're really a force in the NL. And to be honest with you, putting bias aside for the Mets, hoping they make the World Series, I would say the Padres certainly could be the favorite. Really not on vibrate. That's crazy. I even turned mine on Do Not Disturb. But the Padres could definitely be that team that makes it to the World Series just because they're complete. But going back to the Tigers, I think it's insane. You know, they're just doing the right things. They're not a huge power hitting team, but they do all the right things. They get the extra base when they can. And, you know,
certainly.
I mean, it just seems like they're bought in, right?
That's what it is.
They're bought into the program.
That's
they know
what
what
it
they
is.
need to do. Obviously, Tariq Skubal, you know, carrying that team on his back, essentially. It helps when you have a potential Cy Young.
No,
winner.
he is.
The Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
You know, leading off game 1, and then game 2, it was just a dogfight.
Yeah.
Right. You know, Spencer Torkelson's been pretty good since he's getting called back up.
Yeah.
You know, he got sent down and get called back up. Riley Green's a good young guy too. So you look at it, it's just we got a bunch of dogs on that team. Simple as that. And then you know, Astros didn't even do that bad. They just couldn't get any run support.
The Astros are a good team, and you always know what you're going to get with the Astros in the postseason.
Yeah.
They know what it takes to win.
Yeah.
They're like the classic Patriots back in the day, where they were regular season.
All right.
They were good.
Yeah.
Did enough to make the postseason. That's the Astros. They do enough to make postseason, and they flip it on. This will be the first time in 8 years of not playing in the ALCS.
Yeah.
Or 9 years.
Thank goodness.
And that's insane. And I will tell you, it's a little interesting because obviously AJ Hinch has the experience. Now you take away his World Series if you want with the whole cheating thing, but he's obviously an experienced manager, and he's pulling the right strings. And the Astros lineup is nothing to you know, scoff at. And that bullpen dealt with it perfectly. And Tigers are a good team. Now, do I think it will last if they play someone like the Guardians? I think the Guardians are really, and they do play the Guardians. I think the Guardians are really the only team that pose a big threat to them.
Yeah.
The Guardians are a very complete team as well. And they have an outstanding closer.
Yeah.
I think, but if they could have worked it out, now I understand it's already set and all that, but they could have worked it out. I could have seen them gone to the CS if they play the Yankees or the Royals, but unfortunately they got to play the Guardians, and I think the Guardians are the complete team.
Yeah, the perfect team to take them out.
Yeah, 100%. Now I'll look dumb saying that if the Tigers go ahead and sweep or something like that. But, you know, that's just baseball. Anything can happen. Going to our last game. We did touch on the Padres and Dodgers, but that's a massive rivalry. Literally anything can happen in that.
Yeah. I think we've seen that over the last 2 years.
Yeah, they both hate each other, and it's going to be so entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's probably going to happen. I can't wait for Tatis to hit a bomb in Dodger Stadium and just how loud those boos are. And then same thing for Shohei Ohtani when he goes to Petco. That's probably going to happen too.
Yep.
They're just so good. But going to the last game, the Royals are playing the Yankees. You know, I know the Yankees got Judge, and I know they have Soto. I saw a stat that this year, the Yankees don't look so good against that Royals starting pitching. I'm not going to lie to you. Royals are kind of a scrappy team. Vinny Pasquantino had a very quiet, good year.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby Witt does a lot for that team. They kind of go with Bobby Witt, and they kind of go with that starting pitching. But I would not be shocked if you see the Royals winning like 4 in that one. Now, that's the first prediction I put out there. That's actually really the only one I'm willing to predict.
Really?
Well, yeah, I personally think so, because obviously I'm going to be biased against the Mets, although I do think the Phillies on paper are a better team.
Yeah.
The Mets were better in the regular season. Regular season means nothing. The Brewers beat the Mets 5 times out of 6 in the regular season.
It just took 2.
But I'm not going to predict the Phillies-Mets. That's a huge rivalry. I'm certainly not going to predict the Dodgers-Padres. That's a massive rivalry. That game could go 3. That game could go 3 either way, winning 3 either way, or it could go all 5.
Yeah.
And maybe they're still playing that game 2 days later in extras.
Yeah.
And the Guardians, I already said the Guardians, I do believe they come up against the Tigers, but the Tigers are such a wild card. This is the only game where I'll actually say I think I could see the Royals winning in 4. I think I could probably say that comfortably too. Because you got to think about it. The Yankees just don't have that much production. Giancarlo showed flashes throughout the year and down the stretch here, but they just they're living off of 2 guys.
Yeah.
for a majority of their production. And when it gets to the playoffs and everything gets a little tighter, you better hope those two guys are hot. Now, they're probably arguably pound for pound, certainly two of the top 5 hitters in baseball. I know you might not think that because you're a prolific Juan Soto hater. But
I'm easing up now.
But I just think it's hard. But if you could keep those guys kind of quiet to where if they hit home runs, it's solos.
Yeah.
And then, you do all that. You don't walk guys to get runners on base for those guys to come up and hit. I think you can definitely get by. The Royals could definitely get by the game.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of a turn here. We've been doing this for the past few weeks. We're going to go back to the NFL. We've been doing this for the past few weeks. Last week wasn't too bad.
Speak for yourself.
Well, my week wasn't too bad. I still have not lit the world on fire with this. I'm going to pull this up on my phone. So obviously we are filming this once again on Thursday night. So we're not. I picked the Falcons. No. We're not going to do the Bucs and Falcons pick. But we're going to go ahead and go through the slate and pick our games, not spread, just money line or who's going to win, whatever you're doing, gambling or not. We're in a pick and pull with about 85 other people. And so we're just going to go through that right now and kind of see who we want to pick. Yeah. So the first game, London game, first one across the pond.
Across the pond.
In the morning. We got the New York Football Jets versus the red hot Sam Darnold led Minnesota Vikings. We'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah.
As a former USC man. Not you, but Sam Darnold.
Sammy D. Yeah, I'm going to go with the hot hand. I think you can't really take it into account, obviously, home and away, right? And they're both playing overseas.
Yeah.
So you can't take that into account. So I'm going to take the hotter team. Right now, Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson just look like the hottest 1-2 combo there is in the NFL.
Hard to argue.
And to be honest, losing to the Broncos last week for the Jets, that is tough. So I do think that they're going to, come out fighting, but I just think there's too much talent all across the board for the Vikings. So I'll go with the Vikings.
If this was earlier in the year, I probably would pick the Jets.
Yeah.
But it's not, and Minnesota did make that good 49ers defense look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Jets have a good defense. I do think Aaron Rodgers bounces back after a bad week last week. Him and his offense, I think they bounce back, but it's not going to be enough. I'm taking the Vikings.
Give me Sam Darnold to lead in another revenge game. Give me Sam.
Nice.
Vikings go 5-0.
All right. Here we go. That's crazy. Imagine saying that to yourself 5 weeks ago.
I don't think Vikings fans would think that was a possibility.
All right. We got Carolina in Chicago. I'll go ahead and lead this one off. Caleb Williams looks a lot better, and I'm going to roll with Caleb Williams. I know Andy Dalton's there. The Bears got good defense. I'm going to go with Caleb and the Bears.
Strictly off just defensive purposes, and it is Andy Dalton that we're talking about, I think he obviously throughout his career he's always struggled against tough defenses. So it's going to be a low-scoring one. I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, also taking the Bears. Look at that defense. It's going to be tough for anyone to walk in there in the Soldier Field and capitalize on that. But Andy Dalton, I feel like, also technically a revenge game for Bears quarterback, but we'll see.
Wow, I forgot about that.
We'll see.
So did everybody else.
I think that he's going to go in there and sling it a little too much, maybe a couple picks on the day. So I'll go Chicago Bears.
That's great.
Twice?
Brother.
Crazy. Twice is crazy.
I have my phone on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, but that's an alarm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stop snoozing the alarm and just turn it off.
It was made up with MLB talk.
We got Baltimore in Cincinnati. We'll go to our Baltimore fan. I think I know who he's picking.
Is there any other option? It's got to be the Ravens. Beating Cincinnati at home. Lamar is 8-1 against Joe Burrow in both of their careers. It shows that Lamar is just the better quarterback, in my opinion. And they're the better team on paper, and they've been the red hot team the last couple of weeks. One of them.
Yeah.
So I'll go Baltimore going 3-2 all the season.
I mean, I love the Bengals, but until they can show me a week where they look absolutely dominant, because even last week in their first win against Carolina, they barely won by a field goal. So I'm taking the Red Hot Ravens at in Cincinnati.
I think Lamar and Derrick Henry make that Bengals defense look like Swiss cheese. I don't think Joe Burrow and that high-powered offense is going to be able to do enough. I'm taking the damn, I'm on baseball right now. I almost said the Orioles. I'm taking the Ravens. Wrong bird this time. I said wrong freaking feline last time. All right, here we go. We got a big one.
Game of the week,
I
in my opinion.
I would say we got the Buffalo Bills versus the Texas Texans
In
in
Houston.
in NRG.
NRG, baby. All right, I'll lead us. I don't know if that was too much of a preemptive one, but originally I had the Bills, but coming on with the jersey, I can't pick against my boys. CJ Stroud, it's been a little bit of a rocky last 2 weeks for, I would say, the team, but this is where we get back on track. And I usually don't say we, but Texans, baby.
He's suiting up this week. You see the jersey? He's suiting up. I'm taking the Bills. They had a rough one last week. Thursday Night Football? It was Thursday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football, my bad.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football against the Ravens. That's going to happen. I think we're going to learn that Ravens team is going to make a lot of teams look like that. Defense, I do have some defensive concerns about the Bills, but I think Josh Allen in that offense where he throws to everybody. A little bit of a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, but I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, also taking the Bills. You know, this is pretty much what you would call like a 50-50 game. Obviously, Texas might have an advantage on paper being home, but I think Josh Allen and the Bills have a nice comeback game, especially after that demolishing that they had last week. So I got the Bills winning.
All right, this is the last one I'll announce. We have the Indianapolis Colts in Jacksonville. I think I'm going to keep this short and sweet. The Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since like 2016 or something like that. I think that continues, even though Joe Flacco is going to be spinning the pill probably. And if there's anybody that's going to get them a win, might be Joey Flacco. I'm taking the Jaguars.
I think for me, they look great. Finally, with Joe Flacco under center, give me the Colts.
I'm going to go with the Jaguars. Colts hand them their first win.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do the next one. We got the Miami Dolphins, probably led by Tyler Huntley, ex-Raven, going in to New England. What do you guys got?
I mean, this is just a gross game. It's going to finish 12-9. Field goal fest. I got Patriots beating the Dolphins at home.
You know, I'm the same way. I think that if I'm going to take a team that's going to win a scrappy, boring game, I'm always going to take the Patriots. Give me the Patriots.
Mike McDaniel. Don't make me regret this because I'm going the Dolphins.
I'm sure he'll see this.
Yeah, he probably will. But yeah, I think they swept them last year. Obviously under very different circumstances, but you know, he's got something figured out against them. Now, obviously, no, Belichick's not there, but I would still say they still play similar type of football.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm taking the Dolphins.
You got to turn that auto log off.
All right. Now, hey, we might have called this a snooze fest going into the season, but certainly not anymore. We got the Cleveland Browns going into Washington against the Commanders. What do you guys got?
This is going to be a one-way game, in my personal opinion. I think the only reason this is going to be a snooze fest is because Jane Daniels and the Washington Commanders just dropped their nuts all over Cleveland. I think the Commanders are going to win by 2 touchdowns.
I think you take that if you're the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I also got the Commanders winning. I think the offense, led by offense coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, is just firing on all cylinders. So it is not going to be that close, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Commanders win it easy.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the Ravens being hot. I mean, I think the Commanders are right there with them. All right, moving on to our next game. This is going to be an ugly one. In division, we got the Raiders going a mile high. What do you guys got this week?
I got the Raiders away team. Yeah, I think they get past the Devontae Adams drama, if you will. We'll see if he gets traded here shortly, because I'm pretty sure as soon as he gets traded, that hamstring is going to feel nice and healthy. But yeah, I think they go in, and honestly, I'm just not impressed by the Broncos at all. Bo Nix is a pretty bad starting quarterback. But we'll see. They beat the Jets, so who knows? That defense might be legit. But I still go with the Raiders. I think they have a decent game.
I think I'm gonna go with the Broncos, and I'm gonna keep this a little short with no Adams and possibly no Max. I think the Bengals might be too much, or not the Bengals.
Broncos.
The Broncos might be too much, and I think the Broncos can pull it out at home.
Yes, yeah, it's at home, and I think for me, until they do move on from Devontae Adams, I think it's just gonna keep a cloud over their head. So I'm taking the Broncos. They're riding 2 straight wins. Maybe we see a third. I'm taking a third. And last one for me, we got the Cardinals, who we thought were gonna be good, going into San Francisco. I personally, I'm gonna keep it short. I'm taking the Niners. I wasn't believing the Kyler hype coming back. I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah, I'm also not on the Kyler hype train. I love Marvin Harrison, though. Great player. But yeah, I'll take the 49ers at home.
I'll make a clean sweep. 49ers. Call of Duty beta came out. Kyler's no good. No, seriously, sorry, real quick. The Washington Commanders made that Cardinals defense look real bad.
Yeah.
And I think that if there's anybody that's going to make them look worse, it's that 49ers off.
Yeah. Let's see. Next game, we have the New York Football Giants at Seattle Seahawks. I think that defense is going to be too much for them. I'm going to go with the Seahawks at home.
Yeah, I think they didn't look too great last week in Detroit. But I think we see a nice bounce back win for the Seahawks this week.
Detroit's a tough place to play, and that's a real good team. Like I said with the Ravens, I think Detroit's going to do that to a lot of teams. Seattle looks pretty good. I do believe in Geno. Plain sweet, baby. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, and with Neighbors still kind of on the fence with the concussion, he might not even play, and that's your best player. So it's going to be a tough day for the Giants and Giants fans. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Los Angeles Rams. I think Jordan Love gets his comeback win finally. Last week didn't go their way. But I'm hoping for, a good Jada Reed game as well, fantasy-wise. So we'll see. I'm going to go Packers beating the Rams away.
Yeah, I 0-2 technically on the season for Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I think he finally gets off the schneid and beats up on the Rams this week.
Rams are real hurt. And listen, I'm not saying there's a quarterback controversy, but Jordan Love's 0-2. Malik Willis, no, I'm joking. Jordan Love is obviously probably a top 10 quarterback, top end quarterback in the NFL. And the Rams are beat up, man. Give me the Packers. A lot of clean sweeps so far with you announcing them.
Yeah, we'll see. Sunday Night Football. We have the Dallas Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This could be a rough one for the Cowboys. No Marcus Lawrence. No Micah Parsons, most likely. The defense is going to be tough to. Let's see if they can, withstand the pressure that they receive from the Steelers. I just think that Dak is going to turn it up a little bit with CD. So I got Cowboys beating the Steelers.
Wow.
And let's get real. I'm not picking the fucking Steelers. Fuck the Steelers.
You kind of, got us going with that. I thought
the bait was out.
No,
I was biting.
No.
I was biting.
The bait was out, and I'm going to take the bait. I'm taking Steelers. The Cowboys are really undersized up front with their defense. I know the Steelers aren't the best at running the rock, but I got fact checked on that because last night or the other time I said that the Steelers can pound the rock. Apparently they can't. But Steelers do have good size. And that defense is really good. I do like Dak, and CD's really good, but that defense can be a lot. Only elite quarterbacks like Joe Flacco can beat him. Give me the Steelers.
Yeah, oh man, I think until the Cowboys they show you that they can beat good teams, then I'll start to pick them. But I think with a great defense like the Steelers have, you can only chip TJ Watt so many times until he gets to the quarterback. So for me, I'm taking the Steelers.
Let's do it. The Colts didn't hold them all game.
Let's see. Monday Night Football in Arrowhead. The Saints visit the Kansas City Chiefs. Brian, who do you got?
The Chiefs have a premium defense again, and it seems like Patrick Mahomes and that offense do enough to win. It seems like they're totally fine winning games with their defense, and I think that continues. I think that although that New Orleans Saints offense is explosive, I think that Chiefs defense is just that much better. I'll take the Chiefs, and you know what? I'll go on a little bit of a limb. I'll take the Chiefs by 10.
I am tired of seeing these damn referees give the Chiefs every game because arguably they could be 0-4 right now. So give me the damn Saints.
Wow. You know, I'm there with you. I want the Saints as well. Upset of the week. I think the Saints go into Arrowhead, and I think the lack of weapons that Mahomes now has with Rashee Rice, with him, you know, breaking his receiver's leg almost, I think that's going to be a detriment. So, yeah, I got the Saints, that hopefully explosive offense, beating the defending Super Bowl champions. All right, guys, that's it for our pick'ems. Let us know if you agree. If you don't, go ahead and throw it in the comments. Let's see what we think.
Thanks, guys.